OSCE region can pretend to dominate militarily. If you read it again, it's clear that NATO violated all these commitments. By the way, it was in 1999, and then it was repeated in 2010 at another OSCE summit in Kazakhstan. And when we started to ask questions, guys, you committed yourself not to increase your security at the expense of our security. Can you stop expanding NATO? They said, well, this is just political commitment.
But Minister, what does the war achieve?
Wait a second. Look, if you ask the question which I'm trying to answer, that means that you don't know what I'm telling you now. So when we said, okay, you said this is political commitment. Let's make it a legal commitment. Let's put all these principles in a legally binding treaty, indivisible security. You know what they told us? They said, you know, legally binding guarantees of security can only be obtained inside NATO. Just looking into our face. We told them, look, President Obama signed this particular paper. Well, this is political commitment, forget about this. And then there was another legally binding commitment, I mean the resolution of the Security Council which endorsed the Minsk agreements. It was very, very astonishing that all those who signed the Minsk agreements, except Putin, publicly admitted that they never intended to implement this particular Security Council resolution. So, no delivery on the oral commitments, no delivery on written commitments, no delivery on legally binding commitments.
So guys, welcome again to another episode of the WSXM podcast. As always, tell a friend, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell, get notified whenever we drop our videos. This, as I say in the video, this is the Foreign Minister of Russia, Foreign Minister, Sergey. He's explaining what caused the war, what led up to the war, and why the West is signaling out to Russia, especially the ICC and the UN, and while America did the same thing to other countries, which is like Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, the Democratic Somalia. They also aided Saudi Arabia with Yemen and a couple other countries. That so he's giving the timeline, the year, and why everything come to where it is currently now, 2023. So continue to listen to this video and let me know in the comment section what you think. If he's telling the truth, or do you not believe what he's saying? Because these things was not said in the national media, because it's been hidden to perpetrate Russia as the aggressor, when in actuality Russia is just a victim here. So let's get it continued with this video and let me know what you think in the comment section. Okay, don't know. Boom!
And all this was accompanied by NATO instructors beefing up Ukrainian army, Ukraine getting more and more weapons. As Merkel, Hollande, Poroshenko and Zelensky said, we needed the Minsk agreements to buy some time to get more and more weapons to Ukraine. And if you can check the reports of OSCE Special Monitoring Mission, they registered sharp increase of the shelling of Donbass just in the beginning of February. 20-30 times more than the routine exchange of fire before that. So we defended our security, we defended the people, the Russian people, who had been denied by Poroshenko and Zelensky, denied the right to use the Russian language in education, in media, in culture, in everything. If you check the Ukrainian legislation passed after the coup brought to power this neo-Nazist regime, they legally canceled everything what has to do with the Russian language. And when the people who did not accept the coup in the east of Ukraine and in Crimea said, guys, leave us alone, we are not going to follow your policies, they were declared terrorists. And it is the regime who started the war against these people. That's why the Minsk agreements were considered, you know, the way to stop this. And it was not very difficult to implement the Minsk agreements. It was about the special status for a small part of the east of Ukraine. Much smaller than the territory which is controlled by the Russian army now, much smaller. But they didn't want to do this because the special status to be given to this small territory included the right to use the Russian language. And this in itself was considered a taboo by the Nazis who took the power in Ukraine through a coup. Then there was the right to have some local police, which is nothing unusual, and then the right to be consulted when judges and prosecutors are appointed for this particular region. By the way, this is exactly almost the same status as was promised to Kosovo Serbs in 2013, a year before, 2 years before the Minsk agreements. This community of Serbian municipalities of Kosovo. The same stuff and the same trick. Cheating on Serbia in case of a community of Serbian municipality of Kosovo, cheating on Russia in the case of the Minsk agreements. Special status for the Serbs in Kosovo, special status for Russians in Ukraine. In both cases it was the European Union in the person of Germany and France, and also the High Representative regarding the Kosovo deal. And I am convinced that just like they admitted that they did not intend to implement the Minsk agreements, they never intended to implement the thing they promised to Serbs in Kosovo.
But the war,
I think I stop here.
This military campaign, or whatever you call it, a war or enduring freedom operation, whatever name you may choose to call it, the bombing campaigns do not alter hearts and minds. They're the worst way to do it. In fact, they freeze people into positions, make further negotiations even more difficult. So where does this take us?
Yeah. Tell me, when this conference started? What year?
This is the eighth Raisina dialogue we are having.
8th year.
Eighth,
so
yeah.
You started in 2014 or something?
Yeah,
Have you been interested during these years what is going on in Iraq, what is going on in Afghanistan? Have you been asking the United States and NATO whether they are certain of what they are doing? When they now Scholz, Baerbock, Macron and others say this is the first time when the OSCE Helsinki Final Act is being violated. They don't remember about 1999 when Serbia was bombed, when Joe Biden, being a senator at that time, he was bragging that 1 year before the bombing of Serbia, I promoted this approach, and I believe that we have to bomb them out into peace. When Iraq was ruined as a state, after Colin Powell showed a vial with some powder, and then a few years later Tony Blair said, yes, it was a mistake, what to do?
No, but that is a lesson which needs to be learned.
Wait a second. If you believe that the United States has the right to declare a threat to its national interest any place on earth, like they did in Yugoslavia, in Iraq, in Libya, in Syria, 10,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, and they have the right to do so, and you don't ask them any questions. And Russia, not just overnight, like they did in Iraq and elsewhere, but for more than 10 years, warning them, guys, you are doing something which is going to be very bad.
Guys, that's the end of the video. So I hope you all get an understanding, or get a little bit of history, or a little bit of layout of the land of actually what causes the war in Ukraine, if it was, and you can see, then you can choose for yourself who is the aggressor from who is the cause of the war, or was the war necessary. So this is a perfect explanation, a perfect layout, and all of this is documented and factual and can be checked by anyone globally to know if it's true or false what he's saying. So he said a lot, so I don't need to say much more about it, but I totally agree with what Sergey is saying. And I've always known this, but even now the media still try to put you on a blacklist if you should say things like this. And sometimes they don't show these videos, or they don't push these videos, or the algorithm don't pick up on these videos. So our job as YouTubers or as influencers or creators should push this out more. So the more it pushed out, they cannot reject everyone pushing it out. So the more people can get the knowledge of what's going on in the world. So anyway, thanks for watching. It's a WSXN podcast. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Like, share, and subscribe. So let me know what you think on this video in the comment section, and we can discuss and talk about it. So you don't know. Peace, one love. Boom.